Move the items.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We're on item 8H. This is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. We have one person who has signed up. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak under any item listed under 8H? All right. Heather? Good morning.
Hi.
Well, if you'll pull the microphone down and then give us your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Heather Primus, and my address is 5808 North Barnes Avenue, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73112.
Okay.
Okay, so where do I start? I have a building, 612 Northwest 29th Street, and when I purchased the building, I was under the impression it had a driveway so we could gain access to the rear of the property and start making improvements.
Okay.
And as it turns out, that is not so.
Well, let me interrupt here for a moment. This is in Ward 2. Sam, do you want to jump in here and lead Heather through this process?
Would you repeat that again, please?
Oh, I purchased this building a few years ago. When I purchased it, we intended to make improvements to the property and turn it into kind of a retail space with a couple of apartments. But there you'll see a fence along the side, and so we haven't been able to make the improvements to the structure.
All right, and Charles, our staff recommendation is?
It's really just unsecured windows. She'll either have to, she just needs secure windows.
I've secured them several times. Every time I do, the same homeless person knocks out another board to get.
How do we resolve that to our satisfaction of Charles? I mean, this.
Well, if that's taking place, she'll eventually have to secure all the openings probably on the ground floor.
That's been done, and the city has also come through and boarded up the property once before. It's basically, the building just needs to be either torn down or I need to be allowed to make the improvements to it. I can't make the improvements to it because the city does not have the driveway that's along the side listed as a shared driveway. There's a property line down the center. Tried to remedy that situation because it's kind of like everyone's hands are tied. The building can't be improved. And so we're going to continue to have the problem of people breaking in. I can board it up all day long, but, you know.
What is your intent in the long run? What do you
Make
want to do?
improvements to the property and either turn it into retail space or an apartment building. But if it keeps deteriorating at the rate that it's going, I'm perfectly willing to tear the building down, put in some sort of green space for the neighborhood, and just go with it. But I need to be able to do something.
Something could be tearing it down.
Could be.
And what's the reason then not to do that?
Shared driveway, I don't have access. It's such a narrow space, we can't get in to do anything because of the fence along the side. Anything that we get in to do will be trespassing either on my neighbor's property or it will cause damage to the apartment
Charles,
building.
if she's willing to go ahead and tear this down, how can we accommodate that?
We can actually provide her with a list of our contractors, and she could use one of those. I'm sure they could tear it down without trespassing or damaging the other property.
I've already had Midwest Wrecking come out and look at it, and they disagree.
Can we not have city staff present at the time of Midwest Wrecking or someone to take a look at this? And it sounds like we've got a solution to this. I'm not sure I understand fully the reason we can't do it, but okay. if we have staff present at a time the wrecking company comes out that you're willing to talk to and contract with, I think we can resolve it that way.
Can I ask, how structurally sound is the building itself?
It's great on the inside. You'd be blown away.
I just hate to see that our if not our first instinct, our second instinct is that we have to tear down a building that's structurally fine because of a land ownership issue. Is there no solution to that? Have you tried to work with the adjoining property?
I've tried to work with my neighbor, the other property owner. I've, contacted the city on several occasions, and it's just when they drew the property line, they just kind of drew it badly. He had a twin building that was next to it, and he has a driveway that has access to the rear of his building from, I guess, what's that street, Lee? Or Military. And they just, I don't know. Everyone at the city tells me that it's a civil matter, and I've had attorneys working on it for 3 years, and there's no solution.
This is in the Paseo district, so they would have to get approval before they could tear it down.
Well, there's got to be a better answer than this.
What, is this a neighbor?
No, this is my
I'm her realtor. I'm Kelly Kratz with Paradigm, and so we've actually listed the property a couple different times. The property's just been denied egress to the back. There is an alley that the city has behind the property. There was a retaining wall when we purchased it, falling down. We took that off because, and she has some photos to show you kind of what has happened. We assumed, which is wrong to do, that the driveway that was between two twin buildings, the other building has been taken down, was a shared driveway to allow egress to the back of the property. When we went to the city to find out about the property line, we had a pin survey done. There's only a foot from the building into the driveway that she owns to have any egress to the back. The property to the west was bought by a tax lien, so he got it a very inexpensive purchase. He's caused a lot of trouble for this homeowner in that he put up a fence a foot from her property, which does not allow us to get to the back. We would love to resolve a problem between the two, so that either one, I've got somebody who'll buy it if I can eliminate that issue, and he's done a lot of good in the Paseo and the Robinson area in restoring properties just like this one. He's ready today if we could resolve the egress to the back. So if there was a way to resolve that shared driveway with the city, and what HP has told me was that they made a mistake when they separated the two lots. When it was an original owner who had both properties, they made a mistake and did not show the shared driveway. Since it's not on paper, then it became a legal issue, which we haven't been able to resolve either.
Has the other property owner made an offer for your property? Not interested at all?
No, we actually made an offer when we purchased this property on his property because he had a for sale by owner sign out, and he wanted $20,000 more than what this property cost without a building. It really kind of has been a thorn in our side in trying to improve the building, either through a new person purchasing it or through us restoring the property.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor?
Yeah, sure.
Out of all the years that this property, the year it was built, and you said there was adjoining property, so up until here recently or whenever this was purchased, you're saying that nobody was ever able to do any renovations or any type of improvements because of this little issue between driveway?
No, the properties were owned initially when the two buildings were owned by the same person. At one point, they split those properties. I don't know when this property was last occupied. It has had things done. I think in the 90s it was occupied. It's really been, we bought it from an attorney who was starting to renovate it himself, became too much for him to do himself. So we thought, what a great project, last beautiful property in Paseo area, we'll make it look great. Let's purchase this and have some fun. And we also then tried to buy the lot next door. He threw up this $90,000 sales price. He tore down, he had a driveway from Lee to the back of where his property would have been had he had a property. He went in and tore up all that concrete, which also denied egress to the back of the property, just to cause kind of trouble for us in this one. He wants to make his land of value so he can sell it, and if anyone wants to buy this property, they have to buy his at his price point. It's kind of what he's done. We've gone in and cleaned it out. The structure is incredible. The inside is far more sturdy than what it looks like on the outside. There's a certain percentage of brick that's coming off, but the actual structure of the building has been looked at by many engineers, and it's a very sound building.
Well, I agree with the mayor, and that is, I think we have torn down too much in this city, and something that has such a strong structure as you say this has, and it looks with the architectural design of a historical, presentation, you would think that common minds of some sort of way could get together and understand what really needs to be done.
Well, is the property next door vacant?
It's a lot. It's just a lot.
I apologize, I'm not familiar with the property. I like where the mayor's going with this, and I wonder, could our own Kenny's not here. Could our legal staff, with our neighborhood services people, take a look at this access issue and see from our help, if that's the way we're moving, how we might be able to make this thing work legally?
Did I hear him say that the building next door was a twin to this one at one?
There was a twin building. If we pull up the county assessor's site, and you can look back at the photos that show up there, you can see a few years ago, that twin building looks just like this building.
Well, how did they get that one tore down?
I don't know.
Can't tear this one down.
I contacted is it the city that says when a building needs to be demoed? So I talked to that personnel, and they said there was never anything written up for that building to be demolished. That was done in, I guess, in illegal confines. So it should probably not have been torn down, but it was. We didn't have this property at that time, nor knew much about it, but as much research as I could get to, as it was not done in the appropriate processes.
One of those midnight demolitions.
Probably. I know that I had the building under contract, the landowner had his lot under contract, the same person. He had to do a quiet title suit, which was probably with the previous owner who put it down. I didn't really look into the whole suit, and the person backed out. Just they didn't want to deal with that.
Kenny, is
Go
there a
ahead,
way?
Sam. Yes, we can look into that. We can get with Charles and also research it. And
Do we need some time on this then?
Actually, the only thing that we have on it, is she just needs to secure the windows. I mean,
Right.
that would be a different,
You'll do that this week?
We do, and she is correct. I can't tell you how many times we go in, re-secure from the inside the windows, and I go show it, and someone's kicked it through and made a door plank to walk through the window.
she probably needs to get with staff, and when they secure it on the outside, it's probably a little more secure, and it's harder to, can't kick it out.
Do you have access to this property from the alley? Can you get?
There is not. There was a retaining wall behind both our property and the land. It was leaning, required to be taken down, so we all took that down. We didn't build it back up because we thought, okay, if he's going to fight us on coming in from the drive, found out that the alley behind was open. The woman who lived right behind moved her fence, so it could be open, but it's, this much higher than the level. I mean, there's utilities poles, it'd take a lot of work to open that alley, but it can be open, is what we were told. It's not a closed alley per the city.
Less work than dealing with the guy next door?
For us, I don't know if you have some legal manner we can deal with the guy next door, show the shared property, then we're great. I don't know what it's going to take to open up the alley and change the utilities that are there, or the cost.
So the individual next, the owner of the property next to this building, his position is that the driveway belongs to him. Is that right?
Completely, yes. He went to HP to have a fence approved because he wanted to put a fence up on his property. They didn't really take a look at what he was proposing, and he has a 4-foot chain link fence on poles that he's pulled down the majority of the driveway, so we have to go around that in order to get to the back. Yeah.
So what effect does that have to the easement?
You can't, it's on the driveway. There's only a foot of driveway on her side of the fence. You can't drive back there with any form of construction vehicles, anything. If you were to load brick, if you were to, anything, if you were to go in and completely redo the building, you could not get your supplies to the back because of that fence that he's put up.
Did someone who allowed him to do that?
HP. Well, Eva's not there anymore, but when I spoke with her, she said, again, they made a mistake. They should have looked at what he had done. They weren't thorough in their investigations of the proposal.
the HP commission can't cut off your private rights. So if you may have an access easement in there, but you'd have to go to district court. You'd have to get an attorney and go to district court and make them reopen it.
Right, and we have an attorney who's been working on it, off and on. I've had Crow and Dunleavy working on it for 2 years.
Well, you need to get an attorney that'll work on it, not off and on. I mean, you've got this problem that keeps coming back. This is not an off and on kind of problem.
Right.
I mean, I was resisting saying that, but you need to get a lawyer. I mean, you need to get a lawyer that'll work on it. There are 2 or 3 different ways that this can be solved, but they won't be solved here. They'll be solved at the courthouse.
I have tried a few other avenues to solve the problem, buying the property next door, getting an
Understand.
attorney and that kind of thing, but my tap of money is not on 100% all the time. So,
But your solution is going to be a legal solution, to force egress through this alley, to force egress through the driveway.
Right.
It is not going to be, there's nothing we can do. We can't do much to help you other than attaboy,
Can we open the alley?
because, well, but you're going to have a lawyer. You're going to have somebody look at the situation, find out what it takes. Alley, you said the alley's open already.
It's not considered a closed alley, but the alley is not conducive to actually getting into the property. It's probably 5 feet higher than the level of the drive behind
We
the
have
property.
zoning things called planned unit developments that can waive certain zoning requirements, and you can substitute different things, and that's what you're going to have to do. I mean, we can talk about this all day, and it will, at the end of the day, we will be telling you to board up that window and go at it.
okay, I understand what you're saying about their different avenues. I have good attorneys that have worked on it.
I don't mean you don't, but you need to get one that works on it all the time.
Right. I need to be able to pay him all the time, because as it is, I'm about $150,000 into this. So what I need from the city is to either get HP to admit that that is a, shared driveway.
Won't matter. We don't have any control over that. It's a civil